started doing Mother instead of that little medley, which kind of works better because, well, the first line of the song Mother is, "Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb?"
David Gilmour, who is 78 years old, has finally addressed a matter that has caused much distress among Pink Floyd enthusiasts for an extended period. The actual cause of the band's catastrophic separation during the 1980s has been disclosed by the legendary guitarist. Gilmour's novel perspectives illuminate the factors that contributed to the contentious conclusion of Roger Waters and Pink Floyd's partnership. Gilmour's novel perspectives illuminate the underlying causes of the band's turbulent history, which is marked by intense creative disputes and public disputes. What was the cause of this violent altercation? Additionally, which secrets has David Gilmour ultimately disclosed to the public? Certainly, we should investigate. Childhood. The world was welcomed into the world by David Gilmour on March 6, 1946, in Cambridge, England. Gilmour was raised in this ancient city, where he was exposed to an environment that was both culturally and academically diverse. Douglas Gilmour, his father, was a senior lecturer in the discipline of zoology at the University of Cambridge. Education and intellectual inquiry were highly valued in their household. Sylvia Gilmour, his mother, served as the film editor at the BBC during her tenure. David was introduced to the arts at a young age as a consequence of her employment, which had a novel creative influence on his life. Even at a young age, Gilmour was fascinated by all things musical. His parents provided him with his first guitar when he was a young child, on the condition that they would support and encourage his interest. He was initiated on a path that would serve as the foundation for his future professional pursuits by this early gift. He was able to teach himself how to play by listening to recordings and practicing without pausing, demonstrating both a natural skill and incredible determination. Gilmour began to become more engaged in the music culture in his hometown as he approached his senior year. He formed his initial ensemble, Joker's Wild, in the mid-1960s. The band was able to offer Gilmour the chance to acquire essential musical experience by performing cover songs and performing at a variety of venues throughout Cambridge. Gilmour's proficiency was not disregarded. He performed with numerous ensembles and even spent time busking in France and Spain to refine his skills and broaden his musical horizons. He was able to establish his distinctive voice and stage presence during this phase of experimentation and performance. In 1967, Gilmour's life was significantly altered when he was invited to join Pink Floyd, a band that was already making a significant impact in the music industry. Gilmour's life was significantly altered by this invitation. His inclusion in the band was critical due to the band's ongoing transition following the departure of its original vocalist, Syd Barrett. Gilmour's decision to join the band signified the commencement of a new chapter in both his personal life and the history of Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd was founded in London in 1965. The group's initial members were Syd Barrett, who was responsible for lead vocals and played the guitar, Roger Waters, who played bass, Nick Mason, who played percussion, and Richard Wright, who played keyboards. The band's unique approach was the result of the combination of experimental music and psychedelic rock, which immediately helped them establish a fan base. Syd Barrett, the band's main composer and leader, had a substantial influence on the band's early musical compositions. He distinguished Pink Floyd from other bands that were active during that era by virtue of his distinctive guitar abilities and inventive lyrics. However, Barrett's tenure with the group was marked by numerous challenges. His mental state began to deteriorate as a result of his excessive substance use. His conduct became increasingly unpredictable, which made it increasingly challenging for the band to perform and record smoothly. Barrett's health had declined to the extent that he was unable to make a substantial contribution to the band's activities by 1967. Pink Floyd's remaining members concluded that they would need to make some modifications in order to continue. David Gilmour, a guitarist and vocalist who was already acquainted with the band members, was introduced to the group in December 1967 after they decided to accept him. At first, Gilmour intended to offer Barrett support on stage and assist in compensating for his unpredictable performances. Barrett's health did not improve, and it was clear that he could no longer be a member of the band. Despite this, Barrett's departure from Pink Floyd was finalized at the commencement of 1968. The transition was undoubtedly challenging. In order to accommodate the replacement of a significant member like Barrett, the band was required to reassess its strategy and sound. Gilmour's contribution to Pink Floyd was unique, as it was more structured and melodic than Barrett's experimental style. Barrett's approach was considerably more unconventional. He contributed a new dimension to the band's music by utilizing his vocal prowess and instrument skills. The new lineup gradually established itself and became more stable, despite the initial obstacles. The time of continuous expansion and invention was the consequence of the inventiveness of the other members. In conjunction with the contributions made by Gilmour, they began to establish the sound that would eventually come to characterize Pink Floyd by combining the guitar abilities of Gilmour with the band's proclivity for intricate musical compositions and profound philosophical lyrics. During this period, Pink Floyd experienced a significant turning point. Gilmour's full integration into the band prompted the band to begin developing new material that could be utilized to illustrate the evolution of their approach. The album A Saucer Full of Secrets, which was released in 1968, reflected the band's transition from its early psychedelic roots to a more progressive rock sound. This album was the first to feature Gilmour and served as a testament to the band's development. In addition to modifications in music, there were also modifications in relationships. The band's dynamics underwent a transformation upon Gilmour's arrival, which led to the establishment of new creative relationships, particularly between Gilmour and Waters. This collaboration would prove to be a critical element in the creation of some of Pink Floyd's most renowned compositions over the course of the following years. The collaboration between Gilmour and Waters. The collaboration between David Gilmour and Roger Waters may have been a significant factor in Pink Floyd's success during the 1970s. The band's most accomplished and critically acclaimed compositions were the result of the collaboration between Gilmour's musical abilities and Waters' lyrical profundity. One of their most significant and initial collaborations was the 1971 album Metal. Pink Floyd made significant progress with this album, which exhibited a sound that was more cohesive and sophisticated than their previous work. The guitar performance of Gilmour on songs like Echoes was one of the most significant factors that contributed to the album's success. This work harmoniously integrated with Waters' evocative lyrics and concepts. The band's transition from their earlier psychedelic phase to their later, more refined output was facilitated by Metal. Metal served as a conduit between the two phases. The publication of The Dark Side of the Moon in 1973 marked the pinnacle of Gilmour and Waters' collaborative working relationship. This album is frequently considered one of the finest in the annals of rock music. Waters was the one who spearheaded the development of the album's concept, which focused on subjects such as mental illness, money, leisure, and war. Gilmour's contributions were equally significant, as he provided the musical foundation with his signature vocal performances and guitar flourishes. An album that was both powerful and smooth was the result of the harmonious combination of Gilmour's melodic sensibilities and Waters' profound words, and it resonated with a wide audience worldwide. Pink Floyd continued to refine their sound subsequent to the immense popularity of their album, The Dark Side of the Moon. Their subsequent significant work, Wish You Were Here, was released in 1975. This album was published as a celebration of both their former bandmate Syd Barrett and the music industry. The album's title track, Wish You Were Here, serves as an ideal illustration of the partnership between Gilmour and Waters. Waters' melancholy lyrics, which express sentiments of desire and loss, are complemented by Gilmour's impassioned vocals and evocative guitar work. Gilmour's Shine on You. Crazy Diamond is yet another exceptional piece of music that features extended guitar solos. These solos are an exceptional illustration of the song's introspective ambiance. The interactions between Gilmour and Waters were not only intricate but also highly beneficial. Gilmour's musical approach was distinguished by his fluid vocal delivery and melodic guitar playing. One of his numerous talents was the capacity to create exceptional musical compositions that could stand independently. Conversely, Waters was the primary songwriter for the band and was renowned for his contemplative and occasionally disquieting subject matter. His lyrics imbued Pink Floyd's music with a sense of profundity and narrative, transforming the tracks into narratives that prompted individuals to contemplate. The ensemble, Pink Floyd, was able to create music that was not only musically rich but also thematically profound due to the complementary abilities of its members. Gilmour's instrumental compositions provided the perfect format for Waters to express their lyrical concepts and demonstrate their creativity. Although Waters' concepts lent the music a sense of direction and purpose, Gilmour's capacity to convert them into captivating melodies and orchestration breathed life into them. This creative alliance was exceedingly prosperous, regardless of its occasional conflicts. During this period, Pink Floyd composed some of their most significant and memorable works, which ultimately had an indelible impact on the music industry. The partnership between Gilmour and Waters, despite their disagreements, was a powerful force that propelled Pink Floyd to new heights and solidified their place in the annals of rock history. Seeds of discord. In the late 1970s, the dynamic within Pink Floyd began to change as Roger Waters progressed in his stewardship of the band. This transformation, particularly between Waters and David Gilmour, sparked a conflict. Waters' 1979 album The Wall serves as an exceptional illustration of his expanding influence. Waters' composition and development of the album were significantly influenced by his personal experiences and concepts of isolation and abandonment. The Wall was a grand undertaking, featuring elaborate stage displays and visuals in both its live performances and musical compositions. Gilmour's guitar skills and co-writing of tunes such as Comfortably Numb were significant contributions, but Waters' vision ultimately determined the course. Waters' influence grew in tandem with his authority over the band's creative output. This was especially evident in the subsequent album, The Final Cut, which was released in 1983. The Final Cut, which was initially intended as a soundtrack for the film The Wall, evolved into a standalone album that Waters completely dominated. Waters' album was deeply personal, delving into the themes of conflict and bereavement, and was influenced by the death of his father in World Conflict II. Gilmour's involvement was significantly reduced, and he was dissatisfied with the band's previous output, which he perceived as lacking in group spirit and characterized by Waters' unilateral decisions. Throughout the development of The Final Cut, Gilmour's irritation became more evident. He felt marginalized and disagreed with Waters' approach, as he believed the record underperformed due to the absence of musical balance that had made their prior albums successful. Gilmour's dissatisfaction extended beyond his restricted creative involvement to encompass the band's overall atmosphere, which had become increasingly agitated and strained. In addition to artistic authority, the escalating conflict between Waters and Gilmour was the result of divergent future perspectives for the band. Gilmour advocated for a more collaborative and musically focused approach, while Waters desired to explore his personal and political concerns in greater depth. Mistrust and a collapse in communication were the result of their fundamentally divergent creative approaches. The Final Cut represented a significant shift for Pink Floyd, as it was the very last album that Waters would record before departing the band in 1985. The seeds of conflict that were planted in the late 1970s had fully developed and resulted in an agonizing separation by this time. Waters' departure from Pink Floyd marked the conclusion of an era, as the band was compelled to confront the challenge of continuing without one of its primary creative sources. The late 1970s and early 1980s were a period of significant transformation and increasing conflict within Pink Floyd. The band's direction was increasingly influenced by Waters, and Gilmour's growing dissatisfaction with this domination resulted in a gulf that led to Waters' departure. Waters and Gilmour's creative disputes, despite the success of albums such as The Wall and The Final Cut, underscored the challenges of maintaining a collaborative attitude in the presence of divergent artistic objectives. Waters' departure. The Wall and The Final Cut's recording process within Pink Floyd established significant sources of conflict. Roger Waters' increasing control over the band's artistic direction resulted in conflict with David Gilmour and the other members, which in turn generated tension throughout these endeavors. The Wall, which was published in 1979, was a significant and ambitious undertaking, The recording process was tense, despite the album's commercial and critical success, as it was primarily driven by Waters' vision, which reflected his own experiences and themes of isolation and abandonment. The band's relationships were harmed and conflicts were exacerbated by Waters' increasing influence over the band's artistic direction. Gilmour experienced a growing sense of exclusion. Despite his significant contributions, particularly on compositions such as Comfortably Numb, the publication of the final cut in 1983 only exacerbated this conflict. The record was even more dominated by Waters, as it was intended as a follow-up to The Wall. It focused on his personal and political interests with significantly less assistance from Gilmour and the other members. The recording sessions were characterized by arguments and Gilmour's dissatisfaction with Waters' autocratic style. He believed that Pink Floyd's previous output was being marked by a cooperative attitude that was being suppressed. By 1985, the situation had reached a critical juncture. Waters withdrew from Pink Floyd due to his belief that the group was no longer capable of functioning effectively. He believed that the ensemble had completed its mission without his innovative leadership. His departure was not amicable and led to significant legal disputes regarding the intellectual property rights to the Pink Floyd name. Waters stated that Pink Floyd was an artistically exhausted entity and that the remaining members should cease operating under the name. However, Gilmour and drummer Nick Mason desired for the ensemble to persist. Eventually, the dispute regarding the band's name and the song's rights reached the courts. In 1987, a compromise was reached after a protracted and contentious court battle. Gilmour and Mason would retain the right to use the Pink Floyd trademark, while Waters would have ownership of specific wall components and other works. Despite the fact that the separation resulted in severe emotional scars, this legal agreement enabled Pink Floyd to continue without Waters. Waters pursued a solo career and was subsequently joined by keyboardist Richard Wright, while Gilmour and Mason continued to release music under the Pink Floyd brand. Despite the court settlement, Waters and his erstwhile bandmates continued to harbor resentment for years. Pink Floyd's escalating division was underscored by the Wall recording and final edit, which were driven by Waters' strong creative leadership. The 1985 decision to depart and the subsequent legal dispute over the band's name were significant turning points in Pink Floyd's history. The band's ability to continue was facilitated by the resolution. However, the separation underscored the challenges of preserving artistic unity in a group with such diverse and compelling creative concepts. Post-Waters era, David Gilmour was determined to ensure the continuation of Pink Floyd after Roger Waters' departure in 1985. He believed that Pink Floyd could maintain its reputation and produce exceptional music in the absence of Waters. Gilmour assumed a leadership role in order to revitalize the band's creative vitality and direction. A momentary lapse of reason occurred in 1987 when Pink Floyd released their first album without Waters. This record marked the beginning of a new era for the band. Gilmour exerted a significant amount of effort to shape the record by incorporating a blend of new and familiar acquaintances. Richard Wright, who had departed the band during the Wall sessions, initially ceased to perform as a session musician due to legal considerations. The album's tone was more refined and commercially acceptable than their previous work. The publication of A Momentary Lapse of Reason was met with varying opinions by reviewers. Despite its financial success, Pink Floyd was re-established as a prominent participant in the music industry, and the album topped the charts in numerous countries. The tour that accompanied Pink Floyd's live performances was also a resounding success, featuring breathtaking stage productions and impressive animations that became a trademark of the band. This tour served to affirm the band's return to relevance and demonstrated their ability to endure without Waters. Pink Floyd capitalized on this momentum by releasing The Division Bell in 1994. Nick Mason also made significant contributions to this record. Gilmour and Wright collaborated more extensively on it. The album's themes of human connection and communication were present throughout, reflecting the band's newfound sense of unity. The Division Bell, which debuted at the top of the US and UK ranking, was met with enthusiasm by both admirers and detractors. Gilmour's vision for Pink Floyd's future was underscored by the Division Bell's popularity, which preceded another extended tour. A revolutionary stage design featuring the recognizable division bell figures and a massive light display were included in the tour. This period was characterized by a period of stability and a resurgence of creativity for the band. Gilmour's post-Waters Pink Floyd vision was centered on the preservation of the band's musical integrity and the expansion of their live performances. He endeavored to encapsulate the essence of Pink Floyd's distinctiveness by integrating provocative concepts, magnificent visuals, and creative soundscapes. The band's heritage continued to be respected by Gilmour through a variety of initiatives in the years that followed. Pink Floyd did not release any new studio albums following the Division Bell, despite the fact that they produced The Endless River in 2014. This album, which is primarily instrumental, pays tribute to the band's history and the memory of Wright, who passed away in 2008, by utilizing recordings from the Division Bell. Pink Floyd's reputation as a prominent and influential force in the music industry was maintained under Gilmour's leadership. In addition to preserving the band's heritage, his endeavors to continue the band's trajectory without Waters enabled them to investigate new artistic paths. Gilmour successfully guided Pink Floyd into a new era through tenacity and a clear vision, thereby transforming the band and their audience. Attempts at reconciliation and public dispute. The conflicts between Roger Waters and David Gilmour were not resolved by his departure from Pink Floyd in 1985. The two musicians frequently made public statements in which they criticized one another, and their conflict was extensively documented in the media. The animosity that had developed over the years and the profound differences between them were emphasized by this ongoing conflict. In 2020, a significant incident in their public dispute transpired. Waters accused Gilmour of excluding him from the band's official website and social media platforms, which exposed the dispute on social media. Waters expressed his dissatisfaction with the lack of recognition for his contributions to Pink Floyd and the denial of the opportunity to publicize his solo work to the band's extensive fan base. Despite the fact that Gilmour did not overtly respond to these accusations, the encounter served to underscore the ongoing animosity between the two. Gilmour and Waters have occasionally attempted to reconcile in spite of these public disputes. One of the most significant events was their reconciliation at the Live 8 concert in 2005. This was the first time Waters had performed with Pink Floyd since his departure. The band's performance at Live 8 was met with widespread acclaim, and their set featured timeless compositions like Wish You Were Here and Comfortably Numb. Numerous admirers anticipated the reunion as a sign of a lasting reconciliation. However, it was ultimately a one-time event. Gilmour and Waters occasionally collaborated on special initiatives in the years following Live 8, although these occurrences were rare. In 2010, they joined forces to deliver a brief acoustic concert at a charity event in order to raise funds for the Hoping Foundation. This performance was a delightful surprise for fans and served as a testament to the fact that, despite their differences, they could still unite for a good cause. Another attempt at reconciliation was made in 2011 when Waters extended an invitation to Gilmour to perform on stage at the O2 Arena in London as part of the performance of the Wall Tour. Gilmour played guitar on Comfortably Numb, and Nick Mason joined them for the final song, Outside the Wall. This collaboration was a significant event for Pink Floyd aficionados, as it brought together three members of the iconic lineup. However, these attempts at reconciliation did not lead to a complete reunion of the ensemble. Due to their substantial personal and creative disparities, there was no potential for a long-term collaboration between Gilmour and Waters. Meanwhile, Gilmour pursued his solo recordings and performances, while Waters focused on his theatrical and political pursuits. Both musicians persisted in their individual endeavors. Despite the ongoing public dispute, these instances of collaboration illustrate that Gilmour and Waters were able to establish a shared understanding, albeit on a transitory basis. The interactions between two of rock's most influential figures have been characterized by a combination of conflict and cooperation, which is indicative of the complex and frequently tumultuous relationship between them. Despite the improbability of a permanent reconciliation, the occasions on which they have reunited have been venerated by fans and have contributed to the enduring legacy of Pink Floyd. Obstacles for Gilmour. Throughout his career, David Gilmour has faced a plethora of personal and professional challenges that have had a profound impact on his life and work. Among the challenges he encountered were the necessity of balancing his professional and familial responsibilities, his personal losses, and his struggles with substance use and health issues. One of the most significant personal catastrophes that Gilmour endured was the passing of his mother, Sylvia Gilmour, in 1990. Sylvia had been a significant influence in his early life, acting as both a film editor and a supportive parent. Her departure was a significant emotional setback that significantly impacted Gilmour's personal life and musical approach. Gilmour experienced an additional substantial loss in 2008 when his close friend and bandmate, Richard Wright, passed away. Wright, a founding member of Pink Floyd and a significant contributor to the band's sound, passed away, marking the end of an era. Gilmour faced a substantial emotional burden as a result of Wright's passing, as the two had a robust professional and personal relationship. Gilmour has also been compelled to address obstacles associated with health and substance use over the years. During the 1980s, Gilmour faced alcohol-related challenges as Pink Floyd navigated internal conflicts and Waters' departure. These issues affected both his health and his ability to concentrate on his music. Gilmour was fortunate in that he sought help and successfully resolved these issues. Nevertheless, it was a difficult period in his life. Gilmour has prioritized the coordination of his professional obligations with his family life, in addition to his personal and health challenges. He has been married to Polly Sampson since 1994, and she has been a significant source of support for him. In both personal and professional capacities, Gilmour's life has been substantially impacted by Sampson, an accomplished writer and lyricist. Gilmour has been able to maintain a sense of security in his domestic life and manage the demands of his profession as a result of her assistance. Gilmour and Sampson have effectively reconciled their demanding musical endeavors with their familial obligations. Sampson has also collaborated with Gilmour on the lyrics of several of his solo albums, including On an Island and Rattle That Lock. Gilmour has been able to sustain a robust family life while continuing to produce music, and their relationship has been strengthened by this collaboration. David Gilmour has demonstrated resilience and dedication in the presence of these professional and personal challenges. His dedication and fortitude are demonstrated by his ability to successfully balance a thriving music career with family life, overcome health issues, and navigate bereavement. Gilmour's career has had a lasting influence on rock music, and he has remained a prominent and respected figure in the music industry, despite the challenges he has faced. Gilmour's most recent admissions. In recent years, David Gilmour has provided further details about his relationship with Roger Waters and his perspective on Pink Floyd's history. His reflections provide a window into the reasons he believes Waters was a critical factor in the band's conflicts and eventual dissolution. Gilmour has been forthright in his assessment of the band's dynamics. He has frequently designated the late 1970s and early 1980s as critical junctures in the development of Pink Floyd's internal conflicts. Gilmour contends that the band's direction was influenced by Waters to an increasing extent, which led to personal and creative disputes. He was of the opinion that the members were subjected to significant strain as a result of Waters' insistence on a specific vision for the band's music and his desire to exert control over the creative process. One of the principal areas of disagreement between Gilmour and Waters was the approach to albums such as The Wall and The Final Cut. Gilmour has described these periods as challenging due to Waters' substantial influence, which frequently obscured the contributions of other band members. Waters' vision for the band became increasingly inflexible and uncompromising, which led to a creative environment in which differences of opinion were less tolerant. According to Gilmour, Gilmour maintained that Waters' resignation from Pink Floyd in 1985 was a direct result of these escalating tensions. He has frequently suggested that Waters' decision to depart and his control significantly influenced the band's eventual dissolution. Gilmour believes that Waters' departure marked the end of Pink Floyd as it had been previously known, and he has occasionally characterized Waters' actions as counterproductive to the band's unity. Gilmour has also expressed his dedication to maintaining the musical direction and integrity of Pink Floyd in the aftermath of Waters' departure. He was resolute in his commitment to preserving the band's legacy and ensuring that its sound remained true to its origins, even in the absence of Waters. Gilmour made an effort to maintain the band's ethos and pay homage to its prior work by releasing albums such as A Momentary Lapse of Reason and The Division Bell. He has addressed the challenges of preserving the essence of Pink Floyd while adapting to the changes that transpired following Waters' departure. Ultimately, the recent disclosures of David Gilmour have provided new insight into the long-standing tensions between him and Roger Waters, thereby explaining why Pink Floyd's emblematic unity was ultimately fractured. Following years of speculation, Gilmour's insights into his dispute with Roger Waters offer a more precise comprehension of the events that occurred behind the scenes. Please remember to like and subscribe for more videos featuring your favorite artists. If you found this insight into Pink Floyd's history to be so captivating, please provide your thoughts and questions about Pink Floyd's legacy and Gilmour's revelations in the comments section below. I will see you in the succeeding video.